Hello and welcome everyone to the Party Animal Podcast, episode number 6, Drunk Driving. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Luna.
Today we've gathered some really specific information. We're looking into the, honestly, terrifying risks that come up when, the fun of a night out involves substances, and then someone decides to drive.
Yeah, it's something that needs more than just a surface look. Our aim here is to really get into the details, understand the real gravity of these choices.
Right. We want to look at how it affects the body, the community impact, and also the long-term legal stuff that happens when someone drives impaired.
Exactly. And to kind of anchor all this serious analysis, we're starting with a story, a really powerful one.
A cautionary tale, basically. It shows just how fast a celebration can turn into, well, a life-changing tragedy.
It's the story of a young man named Ethan.
So Ethan, from what we understand, he was this really vibrant, outgoing guy, lived in Hillsborough, New Jersey.
Yeah, had a good group of friends. They hung out a lot. He wasn't, known for being reckless or anything, just a normal young adult.
And this one night, he and his friends are at their usual spot, their favorite local bar.
It was apparently some kind of special occasion, a celebration. So, spirits were high, people were having fun telling stories.
And naturally, there were drinks. Lots of drinks.
And as the night went on, that feeling starts to creep in, doesn't it? That kind of I'm invincible feeling. The alcohol definitely helps that along.
The material we looked at calls it the descent into impairment. Basically, the alcohol starts messing with your head. Your judgment gets fuzzy. You lose inhibitions.
It's that classic situation where you think you're way more capable than you actually are. Your perception is just off.
And this leads us to a really critical moment, an intervention that didn't work.
Right. One of his friends, Rachel, she noticed Ethan was drinking way more than everyone else. She was sober, apparently, and got, understandably worried.
She did exactly what you're supposed to do. Tried to get his keys off him.
Yeah, told him, call a cab, get a ride share, crash on my couch, anything but drive.
But the alcohol was already doing its job on his brain. He got defensive.
Just brushed her off. Said he was fine, wanted to be independent,
Yeah.
That false sense of control.
He was totally convinced, like so many people get in that state, that he was okay to drive.
Ignoring her pleas, that was the point where it really tipped over. He just dismissed all the risks that everyone knows exist.
And the description of him leaving, it's pretty chilling. He's stumbling out, clearly physically impaired, but mentally still insisting he can drive.
While his friends just watch, feeling completely helpless as he gets in the car and drives off.
That helplessness, that's a huge part of these stories too, isn't it? The people left behind to try to stop it.
Oh, definitely. They're stuck with the what-ifs forever. It's a different kind of trauma.
So the drive itself, he's impaired, trying to handle these dark, winding roads.
And the alcohol's effects are immediate. His senses are dulled. The information we have details like blurred vision, coordination, totally shot, and really clouded decision-making.
Basically, he couldn't drive safely.
Yeah.
It was impossible at that point. He was driving blind.
And then inevitably, it happened. He lost control, veered off the road.
Crashed straight into a tree. The impact was described as, catastrophic, something that shook the whole town, figuratively speaking.
You hear the sirens next, emergency services rushing to the scene of just wreckage.
Ethan survived somehow.
Well, yeah.
With severe injuries.
And that one choice, that single reckless decision sent these huge ripples through his community instantly. It wasn't just about him anymore.
No, it became this community-wide trauma, made everyone face the real cost of driving impaired.
Right. So the immediate aftermath in Hillsborough, first, just shock, then this shared grief, among friends, family, everyone who knew him.
But then something else happened. The community started to rally together.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about being sad. It became about action, pushing for responsible choices around drinking and driving, advocacy.
And what about Ethan himself? His new reality?
Well, aside from the long, painful physical recovery, he was hit with the full weight of legal consequences and the emotional fallout.
That's where the party really ends, isn't it? The consequences last a lifetime. He had to face up to what he'd done. A very sobering moment, you could say.
And apparently, that realization changed him profoundly. He vowed to turn his life around.
Oh, so.
He decided to use his own horrible experience to help others, became an advocate.
For responsible drinking. Designated drivers.
Exactly. Sharing his story very openly as a cautionary tale, trying to stop anyone else making that same mistake.
So he became a living reminder in that town of just how devastating impaired driving can be.
Yeah, his story is powerful, makes it stick in your mind. But now maybe we should pivot a bit, look at the broader risks involved.
Okay. Move from the personal story to the more systematic hazards. The stuff linked to partying and then driving based on the research we reviewed.
Right, because the research makes it clear partying, especially with substances, it doesn't just add risk, it multiplies different driving risks together. Creates way more ways for things to go wrong.
So let's start with the obvious one. Drunk driving itself.
Yeah.
Impaired judgment, coordination.
Yeah, the foundation. But let's go a bit deeper than just alcohol is bad. What's actually happening? It's psychomotor impairment.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Alcohol is a depressant. It slows down your central nervous system, but it specifically targets the complex brain functions and muscle control you absolutely need for driving.
And it gets worse the more you drink, right? The BAC level.
Exactly. The impairment scales up fast with your blood alcohol concentration, even at a super low BAC, like 0.02%, maybe just 1 or 2 drinks for some people. Your vision starts to decline. You can't track moving objects as well.
Which is pretty crucial for driving.
Totally.
Yeah.
Then get up to 0.05%, which is illegal in many places already. Coordination is noticeably worse. Steering gets harder. Your reaction time slows way down.
You can't process things as quickly, like a sudden stop sign.
Precisely. Your brain is lagging. And then at 0.08%, the legal limit in most of the U.S., well, now you've got serious trouble. Controlling speed, concentrating, remembering things short term, and your judgment is severely compromised.
Wow. The jump from 0.05% to 0.08% sounds huge in terms of risk.
It is massive. You can't judge distance properly or speed or how dangerous a situation actually is. It's like your brain's safety systems are being dismantled piece by piece.
And the real trap is, the alcohol itself stops you from realizing how impaired you actually are.
That's the insidious part. You feel like you've got it, but your body is just not responding correctly, fundamentally betraying you.
Okay, so that's alcohol. But what about other factors? Especially after a late night, like being tired.
Yes, fatigue. This is so important and often overlooked. The risks from partying late aren't just about the drinks. Lack of sleep makes drowsy driving way more likely.
And the information we looked at had some pretty startling comparisons, didn't it, between fatigue and alcohol impairment?
It's genuinely stunning. We tend to think, oh, I'm just tired, but the research compares it directly to being drunk.
How so?
Get this, being awake for 18 hours straight. That impairs you about the same as having a BAC of 0.05%.
Wait, seriously, so if you leave a party at 3 a.m. after being up since, say, 9 a.m. the day before, even with no alcohol, you're driving impaired?
That's what the data suggests. Critically impaired. And if you're awake for a full 24 hours, that can be like having a BAC of 0.10%, well over the legal limit.
Wow. Because fatigue hits your alertness, your attention, reaction time, just like alcohol does.
Exactly the same mechanisms. It can even cause micro-sleeps, tiny moments where you just zone out completely behind the wheel.
So the lack of sleep itself basically becomes the impairing substance.
Pretty much. But it makes you wonder, why don't we treat driving exhausted as seriously as driving drunk? Socially, I mean.
That's a really good point. There seems to be this disconnect. People don't grasp that being tired isn't just feeling sleepy. It's a real cognitive deficit.
And it leads to thousands of crashes every year because people just can't react fast enough or stay focused.
Okay, so we have alcohol, we have fatigue. What else comes into play with partying and driving?
Well, we have to talk about other substances besides alcohol. Illicit drugs, maybe recreational cannabis, even some prescription meds people might take.
Right, because parties aren't always just about drinking.
Exactly. And the research is crystal clear. Any substance that messes with your head impairs the skills you need to drive safely. Cognitive skills, motor skills, all of it.
Do different drugs affect you differently when driving?
Oh, hugely. Depressants like opioids or benzodiazepine stuff, sometimes used for anxiety, they make the sedative effects of alcohol even stronger. Slow reflexes way down.
Okay. And what about stimulants? Like cocaine or amphetamines?
They might give you this false sense of being super alert, super capable, but that often leads to really aggressive driving, taking stupid risks, speeding.
And then maybe a crash from overcorrecting or just burning out?
Yeah, or misjudging things completely. And cannabis, for example, that's known to mess with your perception of time and distance.
So you might think you have more time to stop than you do,
Yeah,
or that car is further away.
exactly. Which is incredibly dangerous when you're trying to merge or react to someone braking suddenly.
So the bottom line is, whether it's drugs alone or drugs with alcohol, anything that alters your mental state is attacking your ability to drive safely.
It attacks clear judgment and quick physical response, both essential.
You mentioned drugs with alcohol. What about mixing different substances, polydrug use?
Ah, yes. This is where the risk level just skyrockets. Combining substances. It's a critical danger and often misunderstood.
How so?
The key concept here is synergistic effects. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2.
It's worse.
Much worse. In pharmacology, synergy can mean 1 + 1 = 5 or even 10. The combined impairment is way, way more intense than either drug would cause on its own. It's exponential.
Can you give an example?
Okay, think about alcohol. It's a depressant, slows your breathing. Now add, say, a sleeping pill, another strong depressant. They don't just add their sleepiness effects together, they compound each other's impact on those critical body systems.
So it's not just double the drowsiness.
No, it could lead to your whole system shutting down. Like respiratory depression. People can fall into a coma or even die,
Behind the wheel, that can be.
suddenly passing out, or being completely unable to process even basic information, like a stop sign. If someone drinks alcohol and then takes certain anxiety meds, that mix can basically incapacitate them for driving. Reaction becomes impossible.
Because the body's just overwhelmed.
Totally overwhelmed. Polydrug use is probably the absolute highest risk level we see in this data. It's incredibly unpredictable and dangerous.
Okay, so those are the physiological risks, but the party environment itself,
Yeah.
it can also lead to dangerous behaviors behind the wheel, right?
Absolutely. We need to look beyond just the substances and think about the mindset.
You mean like risky driving, speeding, being reckless?
Yeah. That party atmosphere, the adrenaline, the loud music, feeling euphoric, it can encourage more risk-taking in general. And that doesn't just vanish when you get in the car.
The material we reviewed actually mentioned things like aggressive driving, speeding, even engaging in stunts.
Right. It sounds kind of juvenile, but it happens, and it leads to crashes. These behaviors increase the risk massively, even before you factor in the impairment from substances.
Is there a psychological reason for that?
There's something called risk homeostasis. Basically, if you feel overly confident, maybe because you're impaired or just buzzing from the party, you might unconsciously take more risks to kind of like level things out, feel that edge.
So the party energy translates into a lead foot and fewer mental blocks against doing something dangerous.
Pretty much. And when you combine that emotional recklessness with slowed reaction times from alcohol or drugs, the chance of a really bad crash goes way up.
Like losing control on a curve or rolling the car.
Exactly. We saw that in Ethan's story, didn't we? Lost control, hit a tree. That pattern is typical for impaired, reckless driving.
Another factor that comes up is distraction, right? Which seems like it would be worse after a party.
Huge factor, and often underestimated. It's not just about texting, though that's part of it. It's the whole environment.
Like the music's still loud from the party, people in the car are still talking loudly, maybe using GPS.
All of that. These are direct contributors to accidents because they pull your attention away from driving. Think of it as cognitive load.
Meaning your brain is already working hard.
Yeah, your brain's trying to compensate for being tired or impaired. Then you add the mental effort of following a loud conversation or fiddling with the radio.
And there's just not enough attention left for the actual driving.
Exactly. Your focus gets completely diverted. Even a tiny moment of distraction, like glancing at a passenger, at highway speeds, you travel a long way blind.
And if your reaction time is already slow.
That split-second distraction becomes the difference between avoiding danger and causing a collision.
Okay, so we've covered impairment, fatigue, other drugs, risky behaviors, distraction. What about the legal side? The consequences if you do get caught.
Right, the legal reality. It's severe, pretty much everywhere. Driving impaired carries heavy penalties. DUI, whatever the acronym. It's serious business.
Not just a traffic ticket.
Oh, far from it. It kicks off this whole devastating legal process, even for a first offense with no accident. You're looking at big fines, potentially thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Often, you'll have to get an ignition interlock device put in your car. You have to blow into it to prove you're sober before it starts. Mandatory attendance at substance abuse classes. And losing your license for months, maybe years.
And that's just for a basic first offense.
Yeah. It gets much worse if there are aggravating factors cause an accident. have a really high BAC, like 0.15% or more, have a kid in the car, then you're likely looking at felony charges.
And if someone gets hurt or killed?
Then it becomes vehicular assault or vehicular homicide. And that means serious prison time, mandatory multi-year sentences. The long-term impact, financially, professionally, personally, it's massive.
It really does change everything. Looking back at Ethan's situation, those legal and emotional consequences, they don't just go away after the physical injuries heal.
Not at all. That one decision creates this ripple effect, huge insurance hikes, trouble getting certain jobs because of a criminal record, and just living with the regret. It's a risk with absolutely zero upside.
So let's circle back to Hillsborough, the town where Ethan's crash happened. Their response, it kind of shows a way forward, right?
It does. They didn't just mourn, they took action, rallied for awareness. They really came together to make sure people wouldn't forget what happened.
Did they do that?
Focused heavily on education and prevention. Ran campaigns, shared personal stories like Ethan's, once he was able, and just keep pushing the message, especially to young people. Prioritize safety. Plan ahead.
That community effort seems vital, shifting the culture, not just punishing individuals.
Exactly. And that leads us straight to the practical solutions, the safer alternatives that were highlighted in the materials we looked at.
Like designated drivers, that's the classic one.
Still incredibly effective. Plus, using ride-sharing services, Uber, Lyft, whatever's available, or just taking public transport if that's an option.
The key seems to be planning before you start drinking or using anything, making the safe choice the default choice.
That's it. Pre-commitment. Lock in your safe ride home before your judgment gets impaired.
And that other point, too, looking out for each other, like Rachel tried to do for Ethan.
Absolutely crucial. If you see a friend about to make a terrible mistake, you have to try to intervene, even if it's awkward or difficult. And if you're the one going out, planning your safe return has to be step one.
It's all about preventing that moment of bad judgment from causing irreversible harm.
Yeah. And as we kind of wrap up this discussion, there is a really powerful final message from the information we analyzed. It sums everything up.
What was that?
Behind the wheel, a moment's decision can shatter countless lives. Choose sobriety, for the roads of responsibility lead to a safer tomorrow.
That hits hard. It really captures the weight of what we've been talking about.
We've gone through Ethan's tragic story, looked at all the different risks: alcohol, fatigue, drugs, mixing them, risky behaviors, distraction, and the severe legal consequences.
The conclusion seems unavoidable, really. Driving impaired, the risk is just never, ever worth it.
Never.
So before we finish up this exploration, we actually love to hear from you, our listeners.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about responsible decisions when partying, particularly around getting home safely.
Yeah, definitely. Share your thoughts, your experiences in the comments section. What works for you and your friends? How do you make sure everyone gets home okay?
Or what's happening in your community to promote safer choices.
Yeah.
We think talking about this openly, sharing strategies, that's how we make these warnings stick.
Absolutely. Let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Party Animal Podcast. Make sure to check back in for future episodes. And please click that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to help this podcast bring more awareness to others while enjoying an amazing time, minus the pitfalls.
Be safe out there.